Hi everyone, it's Bea, and you're listening to another episode of the In Your Feelings podcast. Before we get into the podcast, I did just want to thank Thought Catalog and shopcatalog.com for sponsoring this podcast and for helping to make all of these episodes and these conversations happen. Being able to create them for all of you means a lot to me, and I'm so happy to be able to produce and work with my publisher on kind of bringing an extension of my work to a different kind of platform. If you did want to check out more of my work, my book, A Gentle Reminder, is finally back in stock, and I would love for you to hold it. So you can go to the link in the description or my bio on Instagram, etc., to find it. But yeah, it's back. All right, so for today's episode, I know that we're entering into a season, or we kind of already are in a season, where we're all being very reflective and very mindful of the way that our lives unfolded this year. I know that during this season, I am always very, very aware of the things that drained my energy, the things that gave me energy, the things that I really want myself to move towards, and the things that I kind of want myself to move away from as well. I take a lot of time to really reflect on the last, few months of this year is 2021, but I do it every year, and I try to ask myself what I want to move towards as I enter a new year. And a lot of that has to do with unlearning and letting go. Realistically, if something is beautiful and very pointed in your life, you want to hold that close. You want to continue to chase it. And those are very easy decisions to move towards. Those are very easy things to keep in your life. But to sit down with yourself and to really acknowledge the things in your life that maybe aren't working, the relationships or the things that you're giving so much of your time and your heart and your energy to that just are not connecting. You're reaching for so much that isn't reaching for you, or you're fighting for someone who has never really proven that they were fighting for you. It can be difficult to admit that you have to walk away, or that you've outgrown that version of your life, or the space that you were able to hold for those things in your life. So I wanted to create a podcast episode that would act almost as a way for you to reflect on the last year of your life and to move forward, hopefully, with the knowledge and the understanding and I guess the clarity in relation to what you want to move towards and what you might be wanting to let go of. So I'm just going to go into a few points relative to that. I know I'm going to talk about things that I'm personally letting go of, or things that I've let go of that have really helped me in life, have helped me to feel more peace, things that were really hard to do, but when I did do them, it brought a lot of calm to my life, it brought a lot of joy to my life, and it actually helped me to grow and heal as a person. I want that for you, and if you are in a moment of reflection right now, if you are looking back on your year and really assessing what you want to carry with you forward into your future, then this is the episode for you. Okay, so the first thing I want you to reflect upon, or the first thing I would hope for you to let go of and kind of leave in this year, is caring deeply about everyone else's opinion of your life. In this society, it is very easy to have a lot of opinions coming at you. It is very easy to have a lot of people telling you that you might be doing things improperly because it doesn't necessarily match up with the way that they see happiness, or they see success, or their journey was very different than yours, and they don't quite understand how you're moving through your life or your healing or your growth. And all of that noise can get very heavy within a human heart and a human soul. It can really cloud your mind, because you can start to question if you are doing things correctly. And for those who aren't watching this on YouTube, I just did correctly in little finger quotes, because At the end of the day, there is truly no universally correct or right or good way to live your life. Every single human being has a very, very different, very individual, almost like a fingerprint perception of what they want their life to look like. Every single person has lived very internal lives that have caused them to want very specific things for themselves. My version of beauty or happiness or the kind of love that I desire is going to look so different than your version of that. And your version of that will look potentially very different than what your mother or your father's looks like, or what your best friends looks like, or what your teachers looks like. So you have to focus in on what you want for yourself. And you have to focus in on making your life your own and following your own true nature and really giving yourself permission to define what happiness does mean to you, what success does mean to you. Because I will always say, and I've said it on the podcast on numerous occasions, if you continue to live your life based on the checklist or the definition of happiness, success, love, goals, vision, etc., if you continue to live your life based on other people's perception of life or other people's definition of life, you're going to end up living someone else's life. You're never going to live a life that is authentically an extension of what you want for yourself or for your future. So focusing in and acknowledging the fact that your journey is going to look very different than someone else's is okay. But it is so unbelievably hard when you have so many people offering their opinions or telling you that if you want this, you have to do it this way, or if you want to be successful, this is what success has to look like. You have to be very bold in staying true to yourself and in nurturing your own definition and concept of what you want your life to look like. So I really encourage you to write down your goals, to write down your vision. What does happiness mean to you? What kind of love do you want in this life? What is success to you? What does that look like? To some people, success might be having $1 million in your bank account. Success might be waking up beside the same person for the rest of their life, really finding love that is pointed and real and long-lasting in a society that sometimes feels void of that. So the definition varies, and if you can get very clear with yourself on what you want for yourself, without the opinions of everyone else in your life clouding your judgment, then you can move forward and really move towards the things that are a genuine and true extension of what you deeply desire in this life. And with that being said, I also really want to mention that it's very important to believe in impossibility when it comes to our time here. If you think about all of the incredible people who have made history in this life, if you think about all of the change makers and the whistleblowers and the people who inspired humanity on a level that was so deep and so rooted, all of those people were doubted. People did not understand their vision at times. Some of the greatest artists, some of the greatest politicians, some of the greatest people to have ever graced us with their talent and their hope and their art and everything that was within their mind, the concepts that they gave to the world, they were not understood at times. They were often ridiculed. People had so many opinions. People tried to undercut them. People banished them. So many artists were literally banished from society because they were talking about things that people just did not understand. It just did not fit into the perception of what life was for so many. But the reality is the world just simply was not ready for those visions. The world was simply not ready to understand or comprehend what these people were giving it. And now we look back on these people, these artists, all of these figures in history, and we are awe-inspired and we are deeply moved by the beauty that they gave the world because we took the time to understand it. And so if you have people around you right now telling you that you're doing it wrong, if you have people around you that tell you that your goals or your vision or your dreams are impossible, I want you to believe in impossibility, because the people who do believe in impossibility are the ones who genuinely change the world. Even if you're not changing the world, you can change your world, and you can make sure that it is the deepest extension of what you genuinely want to do with your precious time here. So I will leave this point on encouraging you to believe that old maps will not get you to new destinations. Have the courage to be the person who does things differently. Drown out the noise, drown out the opinions, drown out all of the people telling you that you have to do it a certain way, and focus on your way, because that is the right way. This year, or as we move into a new year, I really hope that you learn how to let go of comparison, the way that we have kind of been primed to compare our lives and our journeys to every single person that we see on social media, or the people around us, our friend group, our family members. I want you to really understand that you are a very, very real human being. You are not perfect. And the whole beauty of your humanity is that there's contrast within it. You are going to be the person who does things very, very well, and you are also going to be the person who makes mistakes. You are going to heal very beautifully, and there are going to be days where you feel like you are being pulled back. And you have to understand that you are doing things at your own pace, and you are doing things on your own individual timeline. No one in this world will understand the internal battles you had to fight just to make it here today, just to survive, just to put yourself out into the world for one more hour or minute or second. And so their journey is never going to compare to yours, and your journey will never compare to theirs. But it's so easy to, in our heads, have that comparison kind of bubble up within us when we see all of these perfectly manicured lives on social media. You know, we can look through the stories, we can look through every single post, and everything is so filtered and beautiful. It's all of these like mountaintop moments, the like best of the best, the most beautiful of the most beautiful, the trips and the engagements, and everything is this highlight reel that we are constantly consuming, and no one is being honest about the lows, you know, the breakups or the depression or the anxiety or the overthinking or the loss or the grief or the hurt, and how they hold it within themselves. Some people are, and those are very beautiful experiences to have with others, when you kind of see that the veil is lifted and the mask is lowered, and you're able to peer inside someone's most honest self. But when you're mindlessly scrolling, or when you are consuming, there's almost this emotional contagion that happens where you are being affected by the content that you are seeing. And it's so easy to start comparing yourself almost subconsciously when you are kind of consuming in that way. And so I just want to remind you that you don't have to compare your life to someone else's highlight reel. They are living a very, very different life than you, and there's so much more going on behind the scenes than you will see. So if you think that you're not moving fast enough towards success or love or happiness in the same way that this person is, or that you have to do it that way, or that your journey didn't look the way theirs did, so maybe you're doing something wrong, or maybe you're not as worthy or deserving of what they've found because they found it before you did. If all of those thoughts are in your head, and I know so many of us deal with that, I deal with that. It is so unbelievably easy to compare yourself to others when all you're seeing is all of their beauty and all of their light. In those moments, I just really, really encourage you to remember that every single person you come into contact with is a human being who is very real and not perfect at all, just like you. I promise that every single person you come into contact with is dealing with things that they don't often talk about. And so do not compare the depth of your journey to the surface level of theirs. Your journey will never be perfect. It will never be faultless. It's going to be very beautiful, and it's also going to be very hard at times. But I hope that you learn how to embrace the beauty that exists in that contrast, and that you don't strive to be manicured or perfect or filtered, and that you just strive to live a very honest extension of your life. All right, so the next thing I want you to try to focus on letting go of as you enter a new year is I hope you let go of your tendency to favor distance over depth. I hope that you let love pour into your life. Human beings need connection. We need it. We scientifically would not be here as a species if we didn't rely on one another. We wouldn't be here. We would not exist. We need one another. We need to connect. We need vulnerability. We need tenderness. We need softness. And I know how difficult it can be to choose that in a world that sometimes does feel like we are all striving for connection and avoiding eye contact. I understand that it is risky to be vulnerable. I understand that it is very, very difficult to put your heart on the line, to hold it in your hands and ask for someone to hold it, because they could drop it or they could hurt it. And it is very, very difficult to choose that vulnerability and to choose that risk. But you are here to risk your heart. You are here to put it into the world. And so I hope that you let go of your tendency to close yourself off or to believe that good love doesn't exist. And I hope you let go of, I think, almost like this generational tendency for us to judge ourselves if we are too vulnerable or if we are too open. I can't even express the amount of times that I've told myself to just chill or to, not be so much. Or my overthinking gets the best of me and I think I have to play it cool. Or that I have to talk a certain way or be a certain way or do a certain thing so as not to come off as too vulnerable or too much. And that's something that I've worked very, very hard to let go of. It's something that took many years to heal. And now I can show up as honestly and vulnerably as I wish to. Like, the purest extension of my heart is what I am putting out into the world. And let me tell you, it is quite possibly the greatest feeling to be loved that way and to be chosen when you are putting your heart out in that kind of way. Because if you're perfecting yourself, if you're almost playing games, if you're chasing people and the only time they chase you back or the only time they fight for you or reach back for you is when you are this almost watered down version of yourself, is that really genuinely being chosen? Are you really being chosen in that moment as you are on your deepest level? Or are you being chosen for the games that you're playing or for the fact that you're closed off or unattainable? And so as we move towards a new year, I really hope that, as I said, you let love pour in and you let love pour out and you put your heart into this world the way that you have always wanted to put your heart into this world. You do not have to be afraid about being the kind of person who wants to just crash their whole soul into another human being. You do not need to time how long it takes you to respond to someone's texts. You do not need to play it cool when you really like someone. Tell someone that you appreciate them. Really like someone. Really show up in that. Really put your heart out there and let it be chosen in that light and in that way, because I promise that is what you are looking for. That is genuine connection. You do not need to play it cool. You do not need to be less. If someone wants you to be less, let them go and find less. Be all that you are. Be too much, care too much, love too much, give too much. Give literally every ounce of your soul to this world, and I promise that love will reach back for you. And it will be the most beautifully, deeply rooted kind of love that you have ever felt. So my fourth point is, I hope you learn how to let go as you move into a new year. I hope you learn how to let go of a love that will not love you back. If you feel like you are chasing someone who is not really wanting to be caught, if you feel like you are fighting for someone who is not fighting for you, or you're really reaching and gripping at this idea of someone who is not reaching back, nothing is coming to fruition, nothing feels easy. This love, this person does not feel like peace. They are constantly adding confusion to your life. I really hope that you let go of that. And within that, I mean, don't get me wrong, I completely understand what it is like to love in this world. I completely understand that no one comes out of this life unscathed, that we all have hearts that have been bruised or mishandled or hurt by other human beings. And therefore, we can tell ourselves stories about ourselves based on the experiences that we've had. And I really hope that as you move towards a new year, you learn how to let go of the stories that you're telling yourself that are convincing you that you are not worthy and good enough for a love that actually genuinely shows up and chooses you. Because it exists. Good love exists in this world. And if you haven't felt that, I understand why you might doubt it. I completely understand why you might doubt it. If you've experienced things at the hands of love that has convinced you that you need to water yourself down in order to be chosen, or that no one will ever fully choose you, and there's like doubt within your heart relative to that, if you're doubting that your heart will ever truly be held because of what you've been through, I understand how difficult it can be to believe in a future kind of love that you have yet to feel. It's so immeasurable, it's so impossible to think of. But when it comes to love, as I even said at the beginning of this podcast, you really do have to believe in impossibility. Every single person you come into contact with is not going to be your person. You're not going to be compatible with everyone you meet. And some chapters of your lives will be so full and so beautiful, and then they will end, and that is okay as well. Some things just simply are not forever, no matter how much they have made you feel. And so moving forward, I really genuinely hope that you let go of those things, that you see them for what they are, but you don't let them define you or convince you that you are not going to find something that is so deeply for you in this life. And the reality of the situation is that when you continue to hold on and grip at these people who are not choosing you, they're not choosing you. You're keeping yourself closed off and rooted to something that is genuinely cutting you off from the potential that is trying to find you in life. You're holding so much space within yourself for someone who is not showing up to claim it. You're trying to thrust your heart into the hands of someone who is clasping their own hands together. They don't want to hold it. They're not showing up to be there for you, to love you the way that you deserve to be loved. But someone will. And you have to keep yourself open to that. And you have to also understand that you can be that person for yourself as well. At the end of the day, alone does not mean lonely, and alone is not something to be fearful of. To be alone is to deeply know yourself. To be alone is to start to build a foundation within yourself that is so strong and so rooted. But you will never settle for less, because you won't need this version of romantic love, this other person, to make yourself feel validated or good enough. You do that on your own. You are okay in your own company. You make one cup of coffee in the morning. You learn how to really wake up in the middle of the bed, and you learn how to really hold your own heart. You learn how to protect it and defend it, and you will never again try to thrust it into the hands of someone who does not deserve it, because you see it as such a beautifully precious thing. When you are your own soulmate and your own home, You are very, very aware of the energy that you are allowing into your life, of the people that you are giving your time and your heart and your love to. And so I always encourage people to be alone, even if it's uncomfortable. Chase that discomfort, chase being alone, build that foundation within yourself, because that foundation is a strength and a dedication to your heart and what you deeply and genuinely deserve. All right, so last but not least, as we move into a new year, I really hope that you let go of the idea that it's too late. It is never, let me say that again. It is never too late to change your life. It is never too late to fall in love. It is never too late to start moving towards the kind of life that you've always hoped for yourself, or the kind of person that you have always hoped to be. It's never too late. I think we get very, very caught up in this concept of being so true to our pasts and our personalities and these very ingrained and conditioned definitions of our life and ourselves. But the truth is, you really don't have to be who you were a year ago. You don't have to move forward as that person if that person isn't bringing you deep happiness or joy or hope in this world. You're allowed to change. You're allowed to do things differently. You're allowed to want different things. You're allowed to have your dreams shift and transform and evolve based on all of the experiences that you have had in your life. You've lived this whole year and you've had so much life come at you, so much experience, so many emotions, light and dark ones. And you're gonna sit there and not allow for yourself to change? Life is changing you every single day. And so you have to embrace that change. And you have to give yourself permission to understand that you are not bound to your past or who you used to be. You can move forward into who you're becoming. You don't have to want the same things. You don't have to make the same mistakes. You don't have to desire for the same things or hope for the same things. You can change. And you're not too broken, and you're not too old, and you're not too jaded, and you're not too hurt to ever move towards the kind of beauty that you hope to find in this life. Some of the greatest change makers in this world, some of the people you watch on television, people who have created so much beauty in this life, they were people who chose to take a completely different path when they were 40 years old, or they lived these long lives and had these incredible careers in fashion, and then they decided that, no, you know what, I want to be a painter. And they moved towards that, and they gave themselves permission to do that, and now they're living in deep joy. You are allowed to change, and it's never too late to do so. Every single day, you wake up with the capacity to move towards the things that you genuinely want in life. And I hope that you never hold yourself back from wanting them because some sort of narrative has existed in your life that has convinced you that you have to keep moving on the path that you're moving. You cannot be led astray. You cannot go a different direction. You can. You can get off the path completely. You can find a new path. You can forge your own. You can create your own maps to whatever destination you want to go to. You are allowed to change, and you wake up every day with the opportunity to do so. So I hope that you choose that. And I hope that you move forward in that. And I hope you never again convince yourself that it's too late, because it's never too late. Go for what you want in this life and grab it, because it is yours to take. All right, so that's all I have for you today. I really hope that this episode inspired and empowered you to maybe write a list or to really start reflecting on the things in your life that you want to move towards, and the things in your life that you might have outgrown, or the things that you genuinely do feel you have to let go of. This is such a period of change, and a new year feels like a new start. You can start right now making those changes, obviously, but it's very beautiful as a concept to think about a new year as a fresh slate, as a way that you can move forward and really choose to live the life and become the person you've always wanted to become. And with that being said, I hope you're all being very gentle with yourself right now, and I hope you're taking care of yourselves out there. Until next time, you are so loved, and I hope you have a beautiful day.